Do you guys remember this? A simpler time when there seemed to be a sense of unity. To start, they created something they called the Brown Family Mission Statement, a commitment pledged on a piece of poster board and intended as a beacon for the guidelines within which they wanted their plural family to adhere. The words unity, trust, and love were carefully selected, but let's be realistic here. It meant absolutely nothing. That poster had been lying there for years, collecting dust, a remnant of a life that no longer existed. But it seems, from our exclusive sources, that deep within the sterile halls of justice and well beyond the lens of TLC cameras, that relic has been brought forth once again. And it's not being brought out as a memory, it's being brought out as a weapon. Within the courtroom, lawyers for the wives were said to have argued that these were more than just empty words. These were a contract, and a contract Kody and Robyn broke systematically and brutally. Welcome back to your source for the deepest analysis and most revelatory theories about your favorite family dramas. The information that will be shared with you in this broadcast comes from insider sources, expert legal interpretation, and anonymous sources within the family. All of it represents a level of news that won't make it on your average TV. But before we get into this explosive legal strategy, let me get a quick favor from you. Yeah, I get it. So if you think that justice is finally within arm's reach for these OG3 wives, and you want to be there for all of it, make sure you click that like button. That lets YouTube know that you want more videos like mine. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button, because trust me, you don't want to miss anything. But let's get on with it. To appreciate just how big a deal this so-called lawsuit supposedly is, we have to look back. Not just at the mission statement, but at the ultimate agonizing downfall of the Brown family that we have witnessed on our screens. We were there as Christine carefully boxed up her things, a glad smile on her face as she at last chose herself. We were there as Janelle, so stoic and so strong, reached her end and dramatically proclaimed, "I'm done." We were there as Mary, so loyal for so very long, at last recognized that the man she married and loved was no longer her husband, but a complete stranger. At first glance, these were 3 separate leave-takings, 3 women with 3 separate conclusions at 3 different times. That at least is the story TLC offered us. That at least is what Kody and Robyn are still peddling, a story about 3 bitter, jealous, and unloyal women who couldn't see beyond their own horizon and walked out on a family they so dearly swore to protect. But beneath all that, an entirely different story was taking place. We are assured that as these very public breakups were occurring, an unusual and unprecedented communications link began taking place, not among the wives and Kody, but among the wives, Christine, Janelle, and Mary. But for years, they had been competitors, sister wives caught up in a twisted and very painful game of emotions. They had been set against each other for things, for resources, for moments, for love, and even for a glimmer of Kody's attentions. But with Kody and his legal wife Robyn cut off from them and living in their $1 million house, the 3 original wives were left with a new status. They were no longer just sister wives. They were survival women. According to sources, the initial calls made between them were cautious. Christine, who was already happy and settled in Utah, apparently made contact with Janelle first. It began with a simple check-in, a tentative, "How are you doing?" holding up, but it soon turned into something much more serious. Janelle, ever the pragmatic one, was facing a terrifying fiscal reality. For nigh on 40 years, she had paid every penny into the family fund, an arrangement that it seemed had weaknesses in its legal structure. Her name didn't appear on the titles to any of the Coyote Pass properties in a manner of legal import, and as for her trailer, that at least was her assets. Third came the phone call to Mary. According to our sources, it was the toughest phone call. The feelings of resentment that existed between Mary and some of the other wives, particularly Janelle, were very deep. But Christine, who had discovered the exhilaration of being alone, apparently facilitated a tentative truce. The discussion didn't dwell on old conflicts, but instead centered on a common pressing issue. Mary, too, had poured her life into this family. As the first wife, her and her family members had worked together from scratch to build a family. She had put money into family accounts from her successful B&B and LuLaRoe business because, as she liked to remind well, what's mine is ours. And yet here she was, with no family relationship, and as they were learning, no access to family money either. And they began to share stories about tiny wounds and large wounds, and about perpetually being gaslit. They commiserated about conversations with Kody, about Kody's evasions, and about Kody's endless "what have I done?", about conversations with Robyn about her sly maneuvering and controlling Kody's calendar, and about how all resources were drained to fund the big house on the hill. As they spoke, a chilling pattern began to emerge. It wasn't just a series of relationship breakups. It began to appear that it might be a long-term plan, an orchestrated movement of money, resources, and influence from the family as a whole to an incorporated unit, Kody and Robyn Brown. The pain was very real. The fury was very, very real. But from that fury, something new emerged: determination. Because they understood that they were more than 3 victims of an ailing marriage. They were 3 partners in a dissolved business who were being pushed out of what rightfully belonged to them. And with that silent understanding, they knew they were no walkover. La tormenta no solo se acercaba, había venido incubándose durante una década. Pero en este momento, por primera vez en sus vidas, Christine, Janelle y Mary se sentían listas para enfrentarla. However, a secret alliance alone would not be enough. A winning strategy would be required. The Brown family's finances were a mess, and they were sure it had been done on purpose. Kody's name was on everything. Robyn's name was on the most valuable assets. Their names, not so much, just on memories and broken promises. Christine, who had already successfully gone through an exit herself, had representation. But this was different. This isn't about one woman leaving. It's about taking apart an entire financial structure for an entire family. According to sources, Janelle, being very level-headed as she always is, took charge of finding the perfect legal representation. She was not looking for a mere divorce lawyer, but a shark who could look beyond all the drama that existed within her family and prosecute a case based solely on numbers. Their search allegedly took them to an upscale law firm based in Scottsdale, Arizona, a jurisdiction with notoriously intricately intervening parties. At the peak of this firm was an attorney we shall refer to as Eleanor Vance. According to legal observers who have tracked her career, Vance is a legend among attorneys who deal with high-value dissolution proceedings. She is extremely detailed and precise in preparation, very astute and incisive in court, and uniquely skilled at identifying unique sources of leverage. The first session, as described by a source with knowledge about the case, was a marathon. For hours, Christine, Janelle, and Mary put 30 years of their lives on the table. They examined every aspect of their family pot. All money they made went into a unified account. That money was controlled and doled out by Kody, patriarch among them. They spoke about the relocation to Las Vegas, where they purchased 4 homes in a cul-de-sac, and then relocated to Flagstaff, where the plan to build 4 homes on Coyote Pass downtown soon fell apart as Kody and Robyn relocated into a mansion. They took with them as much evidence as they could gather: old statements from the bank, tax returns they had copied by hand, and perhaps more valuably, footage from their own television show. Vance and her colleagues listened intently. They were burdened with the weight of these emotions, but sought something more: a legal hook. The stakes were clear. Christine and Janelle were mere spiritual wives. Mary had formally and legally been divorced from Kody in 2014. From a legal perspective, they might have been long-term tenants at best, or complete strangers at worst. Kody would present no contest at all. They were never my legal wives. I had no legal obligations towards them. They could have walked out on me any time. It was an open and shut case as far as Kody and Robyn were concerned. Then came an unexpected event. A young associate assigned to Vance's team, who had been tasked with watching all the show footage, discovered an unusual clip. It was an episode from season 6 with the family mission statement. At first, it looked like no more than a heartwarming scene of family bonding. But then Eleanor Vance viewed it and the light went on. She repeated watching the clip. Again and again she replayed it. She remembered Kody, the patriarch, organizing the making of the poster. She remembered seeing all the adults sign with serious faces at the end: Kody, Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn. She remembered reading what they wrote: "We are a team. We are a family that communicates. We are a family that is united. We value the individual." To most people, it was a family art project. But for someone as intelligent as Vance, it meant something much more significant. Something like the Rosetta Stone. Apparently what she said to her staff: "This is not a poster, it's an operating agreement." But then came this revelation, which would prove to be a masterstroke: the novel legal theory on which they would build the case. The women were suing not for alimony and divorce settlements, but they were suing for breach of contract and fraudulent dissolution of a business partnership. The case, as legal experts explain, presents an argument that is as revolutionary as it is brilliant. It goes like this: for all these years, the Brown family hasn't been a conventional family. It's been an unincorporated business partnership. And who were the partners? Kody Brown, Mary Barber, Janelle Shriver, Christine Allred, and Robyn Sullivan. Their business was the Brown family itself, a product they were capitalizing on through the TLC reality show and appearances. And as for capital contributions, well, the wives put in their entire working life, salaries, experiences, and offspring. All these are theirs, and it all became a product that would be sold to TLC. The profit-sharing agreement, while never put on paper, meant something like this: all threw their money into the family pot, and the pot took care of all. By itself, this partnership worked well, but it was more or less circumstantial. It would have been easy for Kody to contend that it was merely an informal understanding. And then came the mission statement. It changed everything. According to sources, Eleanor Vance's position about the mission statement was that it honored this agreement. It was more than some words on a board, Vance argued. It was a document signed by all members of the partnership, identifying the core values and operating philosophy of the joint venture. It was effectively a contract.
"We are a team and we are united" were more than just encouragement. These were components of a contractual agreement that outlined the fiduciary obligations owed as a result. "We value the individual" served as an indemnification clause that ensured no individual's interest alone could be given preferential treatment to the detriment of the rest. By signing it, they were therefore aware. Suddenly, everything that Kody and Robyn had done in the years that followed could be considered anew. It was no longer merely a situation involving a husband and a new wife. It was about the managing partners of a partnership failing to carry out their fiduciary obligations. It included allegations of embezzling partnership money, secretly appropriating assets, and failing in good faith to remove co-partners and acquire all assets on behalf of an unquestionable partnership. It was no longer about a messy polygamous divorce, and it had nothing to do with bigamy either. All that had been displaced. It had everything to do with partnership fraud. And the missing link here? The family mission statement. And who created it? Kody Brown himself. The very thing everyone thought they'd seen no more of. But with this,
the stage was set for trial. The battle lines had been drawn. The evidence was overwhelming. In the next part of our exclusive report, we take you inside the courtroom for what many are calling the trial of the century. Kody Brown would be forced to face his own words as the family mission statement becomes the star witness against him. The stunning conclusion of this incredible story you won't want to miss. Day 1 of the trial, Allred, Shriver, and Barber v. Brown in Dabsark Entertainment, was, unsurprisingly, a media three-ring circus. While television cameras were barred from the Cucamonga County courtroom, the steps outside have been a frenzy of activity. Local news vans, online bloggers, and tabloid reporters all jostled for a glimpse of the reality TV family at the center of this explosive civil suit. The sources on the ground described the striking contrast in arrivals. Christine, Janelle, and Mary pulled up in a single black SUV. The trio climbed the courthouse steps as one, shoulders back, faces set in quiet determination. Professional business attire shielded them from the reality star persona and landed them firmly in serious plaintiff gear. They didn't say anything to the press, only allowing their lead counsel, Eleanor Vance, to say, "We are here to present the facts, and we are confident in our case." By contrast, Kody and Robyn arrived a lot more tetchily. They arrived separately. Kody came in haggard and scowling, pushing past reporters repeating, "No comment." Robyn, muffled in a huge coat and sunglasses despite Flagstaff's mild weather, huddled close to her attorney's side, as if shrinking away from the attention. The contrast was striking, the OG three wives as a solid, businesslike block, while Kody and Robyn seemed alone, beleaguered. Electric tension filled the air in the courtroom. A jury of 6 men and 7 women, all from the Flagstaff area, sat attentively. They were not sister wives converts. They had been thoroughly screened to ensure fairness. It was their duty to settle a complicated dispute over money, not scores from a television show. Now was the moment for each side to unveil its roadmap. Representing the wives, Eleanor Vance strode before the jury not with fire and brimstone, but with the calm, authoritative air of a seasoned professor. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she began, voice steady and clear. "For the next several days, you will hear a story. It's a story about a family, yes, but at its heart, it is a story about a business. A unique business, to be sure, but a business nonetheless. A partnership. For 30 years, my clients, Christine Allred, Janelle Shriver, and Mary Barber, were partners in this business. They contributed their labor, their income, their youth, and their very lives to build a brand and an enterprise known as the Brown family." Vance took the jury through the family's history, from humble beginnings in Utah to celebrity status in Las Vegas and Flagstaff. She tried to define the concept of the family pot, the central operating account, the hub of their financial collaboration. Like any partnership, there was an agreement. For many years, it had been unspoken, implicit, but it was finally put in writing. A paralegal set up a large screen facing the jury. On it appeared an enlarged, high-resolution version of the Brown family's mission statement. "This," Vance said, her voice rising slightly, "is that agreement, signed by all 5 partners. It contains their guiding principles, words like team, unity, trust, we value the individual. These were the terms of their partnership, and this case is about how 2 of those partners, the defendants, Kody and Robyn Brown, systematically violated every single term of this agreement. They breached their duty to their partners, they engaged in a pattern of deceit and financial mismanagement to enrich themselves at the expense of the women who helped build their empire. We will show you the documents, we will show you the bank records, and we will show you, in their own words, how the defendants plotted to dissolve this partnership and take everything for themselves. By the end of this trial, you will see that this is not a case of a messy divorce. It is a case of corporate betrayal, and we will ask you to hold the defendants accountable.
It was a masterly opening, reframing an entire narrative before the defense had uttered one word. Then it was time for Kody's attorney to speak. His tactic was about as opposite as you could get, loud, overpowering, and condescending. "A contract?" he boomed, pointing to the screen depicting the mission statement. "Ladies and gentlemen, that is a piece of poster board a family made for a TV show. It's a craft project. My client, Kody Brown, is the victim here. He is a husband and a father who was abandoned by 3 women who decided polygamy was no longer convenient for them. They left the family, and now they want to come back and take the house and the savings of the family that remained. This isn't a business partnership, it's a family, and in a family, there's no such thing as breach of contract. There's only heartbreak. This lawsuit is nothing more than a shameless cash grab born of jealousy and spite. The plaintiffs are not partners, they are bitter exes, and we will prove that Mr. Brown and his wife Robyn owe them nothing." The contrast in the courtroom couldn't have been more marked. Vance had presented a logical, evidence-based argument. Kody's lawyer relied on emotion, character attacks, and theatrics. While the jury's faces remained impassive, our legal analyst did note a modern truth. Juries tend to respond far better to facts, figures, and irrefutable evidence than to bluster and name-calling. Round 1, it seemed, clearly went to the wives. Over the next several days, Eleanor Vance and her team built their case brick by painstaking brick, methodical, precise, and damning. A presentation designed to overwhelm the jury with an unbroken chain of evidence. This is the procedural work TV shows often skip, but in reality, it's where cases are truly won or lost. Calling first for the plaintiffs was a forensic accountant, Dr. Miles Corbin. Dr. Corbin took the jury through 2 full days of detailed yet graphically clear charts and graphs. These were not just numbers on a page, but rather a story relayed with data. With the help of a large screen, Dr. Corbin indicated a flowchart depicting the Brown family's finances from 2010 to the present date. "As you can see," he said, "in the early years, that is, from 2010 to about 2014, income from all 5 adults, that is, from the plaintiffs and Mr. Brown, was coming into a central set of accounts that we've labeled for convenience as the family pot, and it was from that pot that expenses for all 4 households were paid: mortgages, food, utilities, cars. It wasn't perfect, but it was relatively well balanced." Then he clicked over to the next slide, 2015 to 2018. The chart looked very different. "Notice the formation of Dabsark Entertainment LLC," Dr. Corbin said. "Income from the television contract now doesn't go to the family pot, but directly into the Dabsark account, owned and controlled solely by the defendants, Kody and Robyn Brown. From Dabsark, a far smaller fixed amount, normally little more than an allowance, is transferred to the family pot, but the lion's share of the family's primary income is now kept in an account the plaintiffs have no access to, no oversight of." The Flagstaff years were a complete devastation on the final slide. The chart had the Dabsark account fattened with cash, and then massive outflows that included the $900,000 payment to purchase a new house for Kody and Robyn, luxury cart purchases, investments. And when that was compared with the lines representing financial support to Christine, Janelle, and Mary, it was practically reduced to 0. In layman's terms, Vance asked Dr. Corbin, "What does this financial activity show?" "It indicates a clear and organized asset consolidation," he said. "Wealth that was generally held was diverted and concentrated in the hands of 2 people. The financial structure of the family changed from one of shared resource to one in which 2 members held the majority of the income and assets, leaving the other 3 financially dependent with dwindling support." Defense attorneys tried to object, and at one point in cross-examination, argued that Kody, as head of the household, had the right to manage the money. Dr. Corbin was unruffled. "Managing money for the benefit of all parties is one thing," he rejoined. "Diverting it for the exclusive benefit of yourself and one other partner, while keeping the other partners in the dark, is entirely another. This is a paper trail of deceit." Next, Vance's team presented documentary evidence. They showed the jury the courtroom documents for the secret LLC, Patriarch Properties. They presented loan documents showing that Kody and Robyn had used the commonly owned Coyote Pass land as collateral for a personal loan, a fact that visibly shocked several jurors. Then the emails arrived. Vance put up messages between Kody and Robyn on the screen. Jurors were able to read for themselves the cold, calculating discussions of phasing out the other wives and the ruthless, businesslike language they used. It was oppressive evidence, smelling, methodically presented, and impossible to ignore. Each document entered as evidence joined a growing tower of papers on the plaintiff's table. It seemed to expand by the hour, a physical manifestation of decades of money and labor and betrayal. Then it was the turn of the wives. Christine, Janelle, and Mary were composed, focused, and unshaken. They weren't there to relive any emotional heartbreak. They were there to tell the story of a business they had built together and how it had been taken from them. Vance started things off with Christine. "Miss Allred," she said, "at the time you turned over your paycheck to the family account for a period of 25 years, what was your understanding of how that money would be used?" Christine's voice was steady, filled with quiet authority. "My understanding, based upon the family principles and discussions provided in abundance, was that this was for the benefit of the entire family to build our collective future." Next came Janelle. "Ms. Shriver, were you ever informed that income was being diverted from our shared family reality show to a private LLC that you had no access to?" Janelle's response was resolute and measured. No, I was never informed. When I asked questions, I was told to trust Kody, to trust the process, to have faith in the big picture. Finally, Mary. Miss Barber, at any time after your legal divorce from Mr. Brown, did you agree to or otherwise acquiesce in the reduction of your financial interest in the family? Mary was emphatic. Absolutely not. My legal divorce was a tactical move to permit Kody to adopt Robyn's children. I was repeatedly assured by both Kody and Robyn that it would change nothing about my position in the family, financially or otherwise. I was told I was and always would be a full partner. The lawyer for Kody tried aggressive cross-examinations, seeking to portray the wives as bitter and greedy. To Christine, he asked, "Isn't it true you just want to punish Mr. Brown for falling in love with Robyn?" Christine was a model of impassive lucidity. "This isn't about love. It's about 30 years of my financial life. I am here for my equity." He turned to Janelle, trying to shame her. "You lived in an RV on the family property. Weren't you being supported by the family?" Janelle counted off the facts, her voice even but firm. "The money that bought that property was my money too. I was living in an RV on land I helped pay for while my business partners were living in a mansion." He tried to bring Mary back to the catfishing incident, but the judge cut in, taking Vance's objection, irrelevant to the financial matters at hand. By the time the plaintiffs rested, they had painted an almost airtight narrative, verified financial data, legal documents, and consistent, credible testimony from all three women. The jury now understood what had happened and how it had happened, but the most dramatic revelation, the why, was yet to come. With that, all eyes turned to Kody Brown himself. The patriarch, the defendant, was about to take the stand. His lawyer likely believed this would be Kody's moment to charm the jury, to step in as the wronged, charismatic leader of a family torn apart by what he would frame as jealousy and misunderstanding. It would prove to be a catastrophic miscalculation. He entered the stand, a suit slightly too tight, hair perfectly styled, and an air of confident smirk on his face. His lawyer led him through a series of soft, easy questions, giving him room to paint his version of events, the sacrifices he had made, the vision he had for the family, and the narrative, the story, of the three original wives as complainers who had lost faith in the big picture. He performed with all the confidence of a man playing the role that the